The journey for the Platinum Pudding competition was very special and very unexpected. It's a competition that I entered on Instagram, and the Falooda cake is something that was always in my imagination, and I wanted to create something unique for Her Majesty the Queen to celebrate 7 decades of her positive reign. I'm really grateful to her inclusive reign and the very fact that I am in London today and bringing up my children and having a family over here. I'm very grateful to the monarchy that has embraced such a multicultural society. So I wanted a cake that would reflect that and the Commonwealth, which has been the Queen's role over 70 years. And that's what brought about my Rose Falooda recipe. I'm in the process actually of setting up a Falooda cake company. So as soon as I can find an investor who's ready to take on the concept, it's something that I want to do because it's a cake that's been very popular with my friends and my community around. And recently we were at Box Park in Wembley, and I sold about 170 Falooda cupcakes for charity for the Noah's Ark Children's Hospice. So everybody loved it, and everyone came back to me and said, we love this Falooda cupcake, the children, the grown-ups. It didn't matter where they were from or what their age group was. It's a really popular recipe. So I know it's a recipe that people will really love. It starts off with a Victoria sponge, which, in London, we're all very familiar with the Victoria sponge. But I've twisted the sponge by adding saffron to the batter. So you follow the recipe as you would for a vanilla sponge. You could buy it in the supermarket. You could use a ready-made cake box, make a vanilla sponge out of it, but you just add a few strands of saffron to make it more exotic. The main element, of course, is the pudding, which is the Falooda. So I mix double cream with mascarpone and vanilla. I whisk it up till it's really thick. I add some icing sugar to it, depends upon the sweetness. You can also add stevia if you don't want to add sugar. And then I add a bit of roux afza rose syrup. And then I boil some vermicelli noodles, just a tablespoon for a minute, and I add that to the cream. And then I have the sabja seeds that also I keep in water till they swell up for about 5 minutes. And I add that to the cream. So that's the Falooda cream really. So instead of using milk, I use mascarpone and double cream. So it's a thick icing, and then that can be placed inside the cake and sandwiched like a Victoria sponge. So that is the recipe. It takes about an hour and a half to make. So it's an easy recipe. It's very difficult to get it wrong. With icing, normally if you have to make flowers with icing sugar and sugar paste, it's quite complicated to do. But to find flowers that are in season, that are edible, or to put roses, 3 different roses, maybe a peach, a baby pink, a white rose on the cake, it takes no effort and no skill. So when people say, I don't think we can decorate it like you, I said, my children do it with me because it's that easy. I use a butter knife and I just put the icing, pink and white icing around the cake just with a butter knife. You don't need any skill to do that. And I put some rose petals, some pistachio, some saffron on the cake, and that's what it is really. So it requires zero skill to decorate it, but it looks pretty.